our Veda Pandits to please recite 2 shlokas from the last 2 shlokas of last session, that is 7 and 8. Mukeshji is here. Please go ahead. Unmute, please. Mukeshji, unmute and recite.
Ma'am, 7 से 8.
7 and 8, yes. 7 or 8, yes.
जी.
केवल 4 श्लोक.
जी दीदी.
एक ऑडियो बंद रखना, एक ओपन रखना.
कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम् नहि प्रपश्यामि ममापनुद्यात् यच्छोकमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम् अवाप्य भूमां वसपात्ममृद्धम् राज्यं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम्. Om.
My nature, smitten with the taint of weakness, confused in mind about dharma, I pray thee, tell me decisively what is good for me. I am thy disciple. Teach me, for I have taken refuge in thee. Mukesh ji, aapka mute rakhna, please. Indeed, I do not see what could dispel the grief that dries up my senses. Though I should obtain an unrivaled and prosperous kingdom on earth and even lordship of the gods. So this is what Arjuna is saying. He continues to lament, like in the first chapter. And in the last session, we have seen that he had reached a point where he cannot think anymore. So he surrenders to Sri Krishna Bhagavan and is asking for divine guidance. He's saying, Yachreya sya nishchitam bruhi tanme. Decisively tell me, because I don't know what to do. There is a great value to surrendering. As long as we think that we can handle the challenges in life, God lets us do it. And when we surrender, God helps. So that's what Arjuna is doing, surrendering. And until then, Sri Krishna Bhagavan was quiet. Sri Krishna Bhagavan did not give him any instruction to Arjuna until he asked for it. This is one important thing to remember. So now Arjuna cannot decide what dharma to follow. His family dharma, which means he should protect his relatives, or Kshatriya dharma, which means that he is responsible for the safety of his citizens and he should stand up and fight for them. So, because of this dilemma, dharma sammudha, this is the dilemma about what dharma he should follow. Because he's in this situation, he thinks he is weak. He's considering himself to be a weak person. But we all know that he also knows that he's a very strong person. But at this point, because of the complexity of the situation, he's thinking that he's weak because he's in this dilemma. And this is called as karpanya dosha. That means a stain of weakness in a strong person. But in reality, it is the result of circumstances. It's not his weakness, but the circumstances are such. That's why he's feeling that way. So here we see how humble Arjuna is. It shows the greatness of his character. And we have also seen that surrender with faithful devotion is significant. When a student has faith, he understands knowledge better. And devotion removes any resistance in the student. And master becomes pleased with the student and knowledge just flows. Just like when calf approaches the mother cow, milk flows. And the best advantage of surrendering is surrender, faith, and devotion in a student cut short the long path of evolution. And so we rise to higher states of consciousness more quickly. I know some of you are very eager to reach cosmic consciousness soon. And if you follow Maharishi's instruction, yes, you will reach cosmic consciousness in this life, not next life. And also another point about surrender is that it doesn't mean passivity. The student still has the freedom to ask questions, and then more knowledge comes out. It becomes easy for both master and disciple, and knowledge flows freely. So that's what we have studied last week, and now we will continue with verse 9. So I will recite verse 9, and Anitaji will read the commentary. Sanjaya uvacha eva muktva hrishikesham gudakesha parantapaha nayotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha eva muktva hrishikesham gudakesha parantapaha nayotsya iti govindam uktva tushni babhuvaha. Sanjaya said, Gudakesha, oppressor of the foe, having spoken thus to Hrishikesha, said to Govinda, Sri Krishna Bhagavan, I will not fight, and fell silent.
Jagudev, Arjuna has been called Gudakesha, the conqueror of and oppressor of the foe. These expressions indicate that at this point, when Arjuna says, I will not fight He is free from dullness and his strength is not failing him. The use of Rishikesha or Govinda, the Lord and the Master of the senses, expresses Shri Krishna Bhagwan's position in relation to Arjuna. With all his strength and alertness of mind, Arjuna stands as a child before the greatness of Shri Krishna Bhagwan. His words, "I will not fight," are like the words of a child who says, "I will not go there," and yet looks to his father to find out his intentions. Once Arjuna has surrendered himself at the feet of Shri Krishna Bhagwan, he becomes as a child before him. Arjuna is justified in saying that he will not fight because he has surrendered himself. Arjuna is a warrior, and when he says he has surrendered, he means it and begins to behave accordingly. Now his heart, body, and mind all belong to Shri Krishna Bhagwan. Therefore, he cannot fight or do anything unless he receives orders. He knows that the problem must be expressed clearly, and then the solution will come easily. Arjuna has had his way, saying now Shri Krishna Bhagwan will speak. Jai Gurudev.
Okay, so here we just heard that two names have been used for Arjuna. One is Gudakesha, means he's conqueror of sleep, and the other one is Parantapa, and this also means conqueror of enemies. So this indicates his strength. Arjuna is saying that he will not fight, but still he is looking up to Sri Krishna Bhagavan for guidance. This is because he doesn't know what to do. He is in a dilemma. So Arjuna surrendered completely with his heart, body, and mind. And they all belong to Sri Krishna now. So for that reason, Arjuna cannot begin any action until the orders come from Sri Krishna Bhagavan. It's quite simple, the meaning in this shloka. Anitaji, scientific research, please.
And then when we, the way Hemaji has explained the main points, it very nicely expresses the scientific research, because this verse is now verified by transcendental meditation, and it relates to increased effectiveness. A study has been carried out where it has been found that those who practice transcendental meditation program showed increased effectiveness in comparison to controls. So, oppressor of the four, this now relates to the increased energy and endurance, greater ability to achieve more with less effort, increased productivity, increased vigor, growth of a more brave, adventurous, action-oriented nature. So these researches itself are self-explanatory, and they give us a very nice way to show how when you surrender yourself completely, how there is so much of energy in you, and then you get the ability to endure. And then you have the greater ability to achieve more with less effort. Why it was the less effort? Because Maharishi always says, you do less and you accomplish more. So what he has done less is, he has completely surrendered. And then there is a greater growth in your action-oriented nature. So there are a lot of very good scientific research points in this shloka. Thank you, Jagadev.
Thank you, Anitaji. Very beautiful explanation you gave of scientific research. Now I would like to welcome any questions or any other points. Okay. Looks like no questions. Vinod, go ahead.
When we meditate in morning and evening, is it necessary that we fix the timing?
It is good to be regular. Vata likes regularity. So if you have set timings, that is good. But sometimes because of your other responsibilities, like job or something, it can be flexible. So let's say somebody goes home at 5 o'clock every day, and then after going home, he or she will refresh and begin meditation. But sometimes there is extra work, so you may not reach home till 5:30. And then what you do, you freshen up, and first thing you do is do your meditation. So we try to set 2 times in a day and try to follow it regularly, but there is some flexibility to it. Okay. Bhuvanji, I noticed you have raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Gee, this is a little detailed question, but perhaps I'll ask it at another appropriate time. But very briefly, it was just mentioned that TM helps in increased action, increased energy. I find the opposite in my case. I'm kind of enjoy the solitude more. I tend to move away from noisy environments, which is against the activity that I'm in, the business that I'm involved in. For me, it's perhaps either looking at increased action in a different direction, but certainly in my current situation, I see it's the opposite for me. I just thought I'll perhaps go into a detailed discussion on this point. May not be appropriate right now, but I'll leave it to your good judgment. Thank you, Jai Guru.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, because I'm sure if some other people are there in audience with a similar situation, they will also get benefited. It is true what Anita ji had explained, that with regular practice of transcendental meditation, many people experience increased energy in activity, because we get deep rest in meditation. And then when we come out, we are ready to plunge into dynamism and we have more energy. And I think in your situation, there may be more fatigue in your system. Sometimes some of us have been working very hard for many years and long hours. And if there is more stress in your nervous system, in your physiology, then you will feel more tired. So in this situation, what is recommended is that before you begin your evening meditation, just lie down and rest for 15 to 20 minutes. Just lie down without doing anything. And then what's happening is you're switching gears now. After whole day's work, you go home, you're tired. So you lie down and bring it to neutral. And then you sit down and meditate. Then you go deeper in your program. So if you are feeling tired regularly after regular meditation, then that means that your body, your physiology is giving you a message that it needs more rest. This is very, very important. Nowadays, I see everybody is so busy. Working people are busy, retired people are busy, students are busy, teachers are, everybody without exception. So we have to come up with our priorities. And then we make transcendental meditation as our top priority. I don't care what you do. I don't care what your situation is. This is Maharishi instruction. And by following Maharishi instruction, all good will happen to us. So I know I'm saying lie down for 15 minutes before meditation. You probably already don't have time to do your full program. And now I'm telling you do, more resting. But Maharishi always emphasized many, many times. I have heard Maharishi give this instruction, individual instruction also to some people and to instruction to all of us, that rest is most important thing after meditation. So if you have to prioritize, first top priority is transcendental meditation. In my other group, I used to tell them PM, AM, PM. And there is no flexibility in there. And like Bani, who is in the audience, he said, there is no negotiation there. We just do it, okay? So that's the top priority. The second most important thing after meditation, anybody wants to guess and say what it is? It is rest.
Vishnu Sahasranama.
No, rest. Rest. So we try to get as much rest as possible. Of course, after I retired, I'm able to do that because there is no problem. But for working people, it may be a challenge to come up with all this time for your program. Somebody was joking. She said, evolution is a full-time job. So we all are working in 2 jobs, One is a regular job, the other one is and it takes time. And you mentioned Vishnu Sahasranama, and I'm saying, listen to it daily, full Sahasranama. So we have to follow. If you don't have time, you will listen only 10 minutes Vishnu Sahasranama after morning and evening program. But if you are a little bit, more relaxed person, you have more time, in your day, means then you can play Sahasranama in the background when you are fixing your lunch or something like that. If the surroundings are quiet, you can do that. So we have to prioritize. If you don't have time, you listen only 10 minutes. If you have time, you can listen to the full, like that. At every step, sometimes we have to make this, adjustment. So, Bhuvanji, did I answer your question?
Hemaji, can I add to what Bhuvan is asking?
Yes, please.
Because Bhuvan and myself are not sometimes discussing on all these topics. What I wanted to tell Bhuvan is, when he takes the energy we are talking about, and made a comment that he enjoys the solitude, does he not realize that to enjoy the solitude also you need energy? You cannot enjoy anything. So the concept of energy, which he would probably getting at the surface level, we are talking about the concept of energy at the internal level, at the level of, like you said, you're doing transcendental meditation. So the manifestation of your energy, it can be in the form of solitude also. Because अगर आपके पास ऊर्जा नहीं होगी तो आप कैसे enjoy कर पाएंगे वो solitude भी? And Bhuvan, I'll speak to you on this later because this is a class. We'll speak later on this. Jai Gurudev.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. That's a different angle to energy and rest and activity and all that. Very good. So now let us move on to the next shloka, shloka number 10. Go ahead, please.
जय गुरुदेव। तमुवाच हृषीकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः। तमुवाच हृषीकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदं वचः। To him, O Bharata, Dhritarashtra, sorrowing in the midst of the 2 armies, Hrishikesha smilingly spoke these words. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Hrishikesha smilingly spoke. This expression is used to indicate that lifting Arjuna out of his state of silence and hesitancy and releasing him from the benumbed condition of the senses was not a big task for one who is the Lord of the senses. Smilingly may also be understood as indicating the technique of enlightening a disciple by encouraging him at the very start. The disheartened seeker becomes encouraged by the first sign of the master's smile, which shows him without a word that his problems are neither so serious as he thinks, nor so difficult as to be insurmountable. The contrast brought out is significant. It shows Arjuna in despair, while Sri Krishna Bhagavan smiles in his usual divine, playful, blissful mood. The two aspects of existence are represented here. On the one hand, unmanifested absolute bliss consciousness, symbolized by Sri Krishna Bhagavan, and on the other, the height of human consciousness represented by Arjuna. The darkness is on the point of being illumined by the celestial light. The silence of Arjuna is about to be broken and made melodious by the celestial song, as his grief is transformed into the smile of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. The word smilingly also refers to the unshakable nature of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. Anyone but Sri Krishna Bhagavan would have been overwhelmed to find that with the two great armies drawn up ready to fight, the hero on his side was sinking into despair. In the following verse, Sri Krishna Bhagavan begins his glorious discourse, but it should be noted again that he does not enter into Arjuna's arguments. He dismisses them all with the first word that he speaks. Jai Gurudev.
Now, Dr. Sharmaji will make comments and then he will do the scientific research. So, Madhavi, you can display scientific research at the end of Dr. Sharmaji's comments.
Jai Gurudev. So, actually, in this verse, basically the most important thing is that Bhagwan Krishna was started to speak smilingly. So smiling is, Maharishi has explained this in many ways. First of all, he has said that smile shows that to Arjun that it is something very simple. What the great grief he is having, that can be solved very easily by smile. That also is indicated. And then also the Arjun is more, we can say, encouraged by that action, by that smile, that it will be very easy for Bhagwan Krishna to solve his problem. And also it shows that the task is not that great as Arjun is feeling. And also there is a big contrast, Maharishi has mentioned, that because on one hand it is the bliss incarnate, Bhagwan Krishna, and on the other hand, Maharishi has explained that Arjun was the height of the consciousness, means it was at a point where the enlightenment has just to come. It was at the threshold. The darkness was going to be removed or illuminated. That was the condition, because height of human consciousness was, Arjun was in the state of height of human consciousness. So that is also very important. Maharishi always says, someone asked that we here the four yugas are there, and Maharishi said, then when it is too dark, then people in Brahma Muhurta, they say the sun is going to rise, so get up. So means when there is the darkness is at the extreme, then it is the time to go for illumination or for enlightenment. And then also, this smile actually, it also gives a comfort. This is a great art of teaching actually, which Maharishi has explained, that this is the art of speaking, that it shows that the person, the master, is in such a condition that he is feeling unshaked, because the bliss consciousness was unshakable. So that shows the strength, and that also helps actually disciple to really, on one hand, actually Arjun has surrendered, but he also said, I will not fight. So this was the condition of Arjun, and Bhagavan Krishna made it very easy for him to grasp all the knowledge. So that also is very important. It brings a great, we can formation. It is that there was no arguments or logics. Bhagavan Krishna was not discussing the matter to solve his problem. He just finished all the arguments just by smiling and starting to speak. So that is also a very important point. And then when we come to scientific research, actually the scientific research also shows the increased self-actualization. So with transcendental meditation, we actualize the strength of ourself. And that also is indicated that the growth of self-actualization, as defined by this text, includes development of openness, receptivity, a caring attitude, cheerfulness, positive thinking, spontaneity, and freshness of appreciation, self-sufficiency, and acceptance of self, nature, and others. This study found that the practice of TM program allows these qualities to naturally and cumulatively unfold. It shows increased self-actualization, increased integration, unity, and wholeness of personality, greater inner locus of control. So the scientific research actually proves that if we are anchored to the bliss consciousness, then the turmoil of the life will not affect us, if our boat is anchored to the bliss consciousness. So that is what I think is the gist, but there can be many versions of, we can say, explanations, but I think this will suffice for now. In case there is any question, then we can discuss.
Very nice, Bhupeshji. Jai Gurudev.
I like the point you mentioned about height of consciousness in a human being represented by Arjuna. So he is highly evolved already. He is at the peak. And now this is the junction point. So you brought it out very nicely. Now divine consciousness, Sri Krishna Bhagavan on one side, and Arjuna, who reached the height of human consciousness at the junction point. So this junction point is, very, very significant in our meditation also. When we reach the finest level of awareness, that is a junction point between the absolute and relative. That is the most powerful state. And I'm sure all of you are having this experience of transcending, and that is brought out in this commentary also. Very nice. Any other comments or questions? Smile, so much can be said on smile, like.
And that also the prahasan, the smile what Krishna
and
had.
Actually, when we talk of smile of Lord Krishna, I remember there is a Madhurashtak, like Chalitam Madhuram, Hasitam Madhuram.
Yes.
So every action, not only the smile, every action of Bhagavan Krishna is really great.
Sweet. Very sweet.
Yeah. And, so many people write so many things about smile. And one person said, it requires very little action from our side when you smile, minimum activity from the muscles around the face that are producing this smile. Whereas when somebody gets angry, so many muscles are at work. You're frowning and you're angry and everything. It is a lot more work So I thought that was interesting. And the other thing I read somebody said is, in America, when you're walking, you go to a shopping mall or something or grocery store, somebody is coming from the other side. And even if they don't know each other, they smile. And, I like that, tradition here. And sometimes you may see somebody who is not smiling, who has a serious face. So they said, when you see someone without a smile, give one of yours. So you smile at them and then it lightens up the other person. The light bulb goes up and they smile too. So smile has a lot of significance. And also smile is at the junction point. You are not laughing completely. You are just smiling. And also the word is significant in the shloka. It says, Prahasanniva, as though he was smiling, as if he's smiling. He's not fully giving a big smile like this or laughing. So that is also at junction point. And when Dr. Sharmaji brought out this point, that's when it struck me that there are so many points about junction point here. That was very nice. Okay, any other comments on anything, smile or anything else?
It is just like how a mother or a father smiles at a child who feels they have moved a mountain, but in fact they have done very little. So the differentiation between the ignorant and the wise. So that
Yes.
can also be depicted.
Yes, very true. Enlightened parents, they will praise the child when they do good things. It gives so much encouragement. And if parents are, having their own situation, and they may not give any praise or even recognition to what the child has done. So when you just say with a smile, even if you pay one very small compliment, it's very encouraging. So that is the value of smile here in this shloka. Sri Krishna Bhagavan smiled, and it is very encouraging for Arjuna. That is the point that is brought out in the commentary. Very nice. So shall we move on to the next? Oh, somebody wanted to speak? Okay, otherwise we'll move on to the next shloka, and I will read Samskrita, and this time Kumda Mataji will make comments. Okay. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajnavadamscha bhashase Gatasuna gatasumscha Nanushocanti panditaha. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Prajnavatamscha bhashase Gatasuna gatasumscha Nanushocanti panditaha. The Blessed Lord said, you grieve for those for whom there should be no grief. Yet speak as do the wise. Wise men grieve neither for the dead nor for the living.
Jai Gurudev. Shri Krishna Bhagavan tells Arjun that he speaks in the language of the wise. And in saying this, he also shows him how wise men think. The first mark of such men is that they do not grieve over anything, for they know that everything is in its essence everlasting. From the point of view of real existence, Bhishma and Drona, and all those for whom Arjuna is concerned, have infinite life. It is wrong for Arjuna to grieve for them. Can there be grief in the mind of a wise man, either for living or for the dead? He does not grieve over the past, nor can anything in the present make him unhappy, for he is established in truth, the unchangeable reality. This verse reveals the wisdom of the master. He makes the aspirant aware of his own position and at the same time makes clear to him his goal. Shri Krishna Bhagavan makes Arjuna see his present state of mind in which he is grieving over nothing, and his goal, the state of wisdom in which he would not grieve over anything. This also illustrates a principle of a relationship between master and pupil. The master is only concerned with taking the disciple from his present state to the goal. Shri Krishna Bhagavan does not bring himself into the picture here. He only describes Arjuna's present position and the state to which he wishes to lead him. He has only hinted at the goal, but not has made Arjuna clearly aware of his condition. His purpose being to bring Arjuna to that complete dependence which will enable to receive his skillful guidance to the fullest advantage. The disciple is not asked to be alert and listen, yet this effect is produced in his mind at the beginning of the discourse by making him aware of his position. This verse begins the first part of Sri Krishna Bhagavan's discourse, which is known as Sankhya. From here to verse 38, Sri Krishna Bhagavan gives Arjuna this wisdom of full life, the wisdom of both the absolute and the relative aspects of existence, which he calls Sankhya. A close study suggests that the questions raised by Arjuna in 5 verses are answered by the 5 expressions contained in this verse. You grieve for those for whom there is no grief. Second, yet speak as do the wise. Third, neither for the living nor for the dead. Fourth, grieve not. And fifth, wise men. Jai Gurudev.
Now, Mataji will make comments. Go ahead, please.
Jai Gurudev. I'm just trying to find the verse, myself, where it is. And read the verse again, just, the translation. So Bhagavan is saying, you grieve for those for whom there should not be grief, yet you speak as to the wise. Wise men grieve neither for the dead nor for the living. First, it's important to distinguish here. Everyone, can close your eyes and listen slowly, because when the subject, seems complicated, then it's best to listen, in that silence. So here, when Bhagavan says somebody is wise, it's not wise in the empirical knowledge or the book knowledge. Here, the wise means knowing the relative and the absolute the way they are, knowing the self and the non-self, knowing that is permanent, and knowing that is permanent and that is not, that is lasting, and something that is relative and not lasting. So knowing this, the dualities, the two aspects of this completely, which happens in the cosmic consciousness, this is the wise person. So he knows what is permanent here and he knows which is not lasting, and he knows that there is something which is always lasting, and that is the Atma. And the wise man knows that he is the Atma alone. So here we come. Now, going back to this one thing, I wanted to just say, we are going through, tomorrow is Shivaratri. And I was also, just contemplating on this, what is happening around the world with these wars and so much of, all the earthquakes happening, so much of disturbance happening everywhere. And if we look at Mahabharata, then we realize that this has been the First World War, as a matter of fact. This has been the First World War. And many people, may not even know or understand this, that this has been the First World War. I think there were about something like 57 countries or something like that. There were about 50, I'm just trying to see, 54 countries. There were 54 countries at that time when the Mahabharata happened. And these 54 countries then were divided into two parts. On one side was the Pandavas and the other side was the Kauravas. And so here, what it's saying is Bhagavan Krishna, who is self-realized and enlightened, is complete. And, he knows that this is where one can understand, be wise, and understand the whole situation in its whole clarity. Now, here, Bhagavan wanted to show Arjuna that things which are not of permanent nature should not weigh heavily, because these are only passing. They come and go. So he's trying to say, take it lightly, Arjuna, for things will naturally go in the same way in which they came. So this is very important for all of us to dwell on it, that, so many situations, especially now, I think life has become so complicated. So many situations are arising from morning till night, day after day. And so one has to know that these things are going to come up. Maybe it's the past karmas, maybe what is happening, around you at this moment, knowingly or unknowingly being involved, because you're still not totally wise. When you're not still totally wise, then, that complete discrimination doesn't arise, and you're not totally aligned with the natural law or the dharma. So it's important then to just understand that these things come, and the way they come, they will also leave that way. Then Bhagavan Krishna is again saying your life should be based on something which is of lasting nature. That means you always have this experience of the self and know that you are the self, and just, dwell on that, so that your existence is based on something which is permanent and not on the changing value. And again, Bhagavan says that, don't give so much of consideration to something which is fleeting and impermanent, and rise to the understanding that the permanent reality of existence will continue to be, while that which is temporary will go on changing. So one should take life as it comes. Now, there were a few more points I wanted to bring out, when Bhagavan says that you speak in the language of the wise, and in saying this, he also shows how wise men think. The first mark of such men is that they do not grieve over anything, for they know that everything is in its essence of everlasting. Here, Bhagavan is not bringing himself into the picture. He is only describing Arjuna's present position and the state to which he wishes to lead him. He wants to make him wise. He wants to see that he clearly understands this Atma and the Anatma and raises to the cosmic consciousness. And Arjuna's goal is to reach the state of wisdom, to gain the state of wisdom, from where he will not grieve over anything. And again, just as Bhuvanesh ji has mentioned, it is clearly bringing out the pure relationship of the master and the disciple here. And especially when Bhagavan is saying it, that with a smile, he's saying it with a smile in such a melodious way, and helping bring up the confidence in Arjuna. So that he can uplift Arjuna. And again here, because all these verses are connected, so I'm trying to see how to pertain to this one verse. Again and again, Bhagavan Krishna is saying, try to understand all these people who are in the battle, Bhishma, Drona, and everybody. They have always been there, and they will be there. And it's not that their lives are going to end just because in the war they will be killed or anything like that. So because this verse again gets connected to the next verse, this is how Bhagavad Gita goes. So I'm trying to see what is the pertinent point here. Is Bhagavan is saying, you just become wise. It is everybody's responsibility to become wise. And here in Bhagavad Gita, when I was giving a talk some time ago during the COVID time, I was talking about the same scenario of these 4 or 5 verses. And I was trying to tell people how important it is to be responsible. Bhagavad Gita tells us how to be responsible to yourself, to your problems, to others around you. Because that COVID time was a very depressing time, especially during the second wave of the COVID when I was giving this talk. So this responsibility, being responsible to the knowledge, to the existence, and to also the evolution is very important aspect that Bhagavan brings up in the Sankhya Yoga. Because in the Sankhya Yoga, it is not about speaking about God, but it is trying to tell how to reach Bhagavan, how to experience God consciousness. And to that, Maharishi ji has given the technique of the transcendental meditation and the advanced techniques, so that one rises and rises to know Bhagavan and to be Bhagavan, or the God consciousness there. So here is the responsibility for Arjuna, for all the seekers, to rise to be the wise man. So I will end here, Hemaji. I think, I hope I got the point across. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
So-
Yes, you did.
so
You got the
the
got the point.
scientific research.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because what Mataji has said, it very, very clearly connects to the beautiful scientific research by people who have done Maharishi Transcendental Meditation. There is a growth of balance. There is an increased calmness. Individuals who practice Transcendental Meditation technique showed significantly increased skin resistance during the practice in contrast to controls. Now, this skin resistance has come for the first time in our scientific research to be explained. Now, skin resistance is an electrophysiological measure of calmness and restfulness. So as already we are continuing with this, with smiling and laughing and talking, so your skin resistance will indicate how well you are in your expression of everything in life. Now, wise men neither grieve for the dead, for the living. This great point, there is a preparation of Arjuna's mind by Shri Krishna Bhagwan to understand the Sankhya Yoga, the absolute and the relative. Through this, there is greater ability to deal with the abstract and complex. That preparation of mind, greater physiological calmness during task performance, increased happiness, increased ability to see the opposites of life as meaningfully related. So now we see how absolute and relative, two opposites, are there in the scientific research as well. And the greater flexibility of constructions of reality. That means by doing transcendental meditation and understanding it so beautifully, you are now moving towards reality. And when we move towards reality, we do comprehend absolute and relative as dual in their own spheres. Thank you, Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Very
Thank you,
beautiful.
Anitaji. Yeah, a very
Yeah.
nice explanation. Any questions or comments? This is the beginning of discourse from Sri Krishna Bhagavan. Of course, Sri Krishna Bhagavan spoke one short sentence in the first chapter, but he just says, Arjuna, look at the Partha, look at the entire army. And that was to bring Arjuna to the level where he can understand what Sri Krishna Bhagavan is telling. But in this verse, the actual discourse begins, where Sri Krishna Bhagavan is beginning to give the knowledge of absolute and relative. If anybody is having any difficulty understanding what is absolute, what is relative, don't worry. As we go on, everything will become crystal clear. That's why there is a lot of repetition in Gita. Maharishi also repeats many things so that we can understand. Then everything will be sinking in. So anybody has any questions? Please go ahead.
I wanted to say, as Mataji said, that we should talk like a wise man. I think that if we will talk like a wise man, we will not waste the things we speak more extra.
No, we cannot, you cannot speak like a wise man. You can only live like a wise man. When you live like a wise man, you can speak like a wise man. No?
Yeah. What Vinod is saying is, when you speak like a wise man, you're not talking too much. You talk what is necessary. That's a very important point. Some people talk on and on and on. Talking too much doesn't mean that you are wise. So we know that's a very good point. Wise people talk what is necessary. They're precise and, clear, short, but they're effective and wise words. Yes, now that is correct. You don't talk too much if you want to show off that you are wise.
The pure consciousness, whatever we speak, that is the absolute, which is permanent, never changing. Whereas the attributes which we often give, like the nama and rupa, associating with what it is, that is something which is impermanent. And this is how the wise differentiate with what should we associate a substance. Is it with the form and name, or is it with the absolute or the because it's only the pure consciousness which is manifesting itself in various forms. So how are we relating to experience that pure bliss is what maybe we need to elevate ourselves by the regular practice of transcendental meditation.
Yes, when you are transcending and when the consciousness is rising, and as Maharishi has always said, knowledge is structured in consciousness. So because nowadays, you see that everyone is speaking, so many people, thousands and thousands, especially with the media now. And there is a lot of fluff, as you say. Vinod, I think you can understand. A lot of fluff, lot of people saying so many things. It doesn't mean they're all wise. They're just, maybe you can say they're intellectual and, they're articulate and they have some empirical knowledge, book knowledge like that, but they are not wise. Wise here only refers to whether you know the Atma and the Anatma clearly. That's where the wisdom comes. So that is where the absolute, only then you can say you're wise.
Yes.
So because English language is very complicated. It does not, when we say pragya or gnana or anything, we don't have equivalent words at all in English.
That's true.
Yes. And the point that Madhavi brought out is a good point. And that is, when we all are meditating and the mind settles down and you experience some silence in your meditation, that is an indication you're moving towards Atma. And when that silence is perfect, that is pure consciousness. Nishabdam paramam padam. So that nishabdam, that silence, we are moving towards it. You may not be fully established in it, but that doesn't matter. You're moving towards, and any silence you experience in your meditation, it's taking you towards the experience of Atma with perfect and full silence. So it is very important to know. Some people tell me that, oh, I do meditation, I'm not transcending, because they don't understand their experience. When the mind is settling down, you are moving towards Atma. Then you have a little bit of silence. But when you do a little bit more, after a few more minutes, you will have more silence. So you are definitely moving towards Atma. There is absolutely no doubt about it. That's why understanding your experiences is very important. And if you have good experience and we don't understand what it is, then you may not value it. So that's, good points we have just discussed. We have one more shloka to cover. And who is reading the Samskrita of the last shloka?
I'm going ahead.
Okay, please go ahead, Madhavi, and then Sharmaji will comment.
Yes. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha There never was a time when I was not, nor you, nor these rulers of men, nor will there ever be a time when all of us shall cease to be. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Here, Sri Krishna Bhagavan presents to Arjuna the permanent nature of the inner man, the inner reality of individual life. The nature of this spirit in man is imperishable. Despite the continual change of bodies in the past, present, and future, it ever remains the same. The permanent nature of the inner aspect of life, the self, is an abstract conception, and so, in order to make it as concrete as possible, Sri Krishna Bhagavan speaks about it in terms of himself, Arjuna, and those present. This illustrates an important aspect of teaching. Abstract theories are explained by concrete illustrations. Sri Krishna Bhagavan says, we shall all continue to exist even after the death of these bodies, for the self is eternal, life continues to be, it is everlasting. Here follows an illustration which illumines the wisdom of Sankhya. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. So actually this verse, as Mataji mentioned, is connected to the earlier verse, and we are having a very good discussion about the wise also. Actually, every term can be explained from different contexts, and the explanation will be different. And here when we say wise, Wise means that the person who knows the reality. Because in this verse, especially, Bhagavan Krishna has mentioned about the real nature of life, and that is the self. He just wants to mention that myself and yourself and all these rajas, there was not a time when we were not there. So we were there, we are here, and we will be there again. So actually I am reminded of this. There is a quote in when we do our pujas, it is mentioned, Yatha Purva Akalpayat, means the whole creation actually is in the seed form in the self itself. And when the creation is created, it is just created on the basis of that seed, which is already there. So all these rajas and everyone existed, is existing, and will exist afterwards as well. So basically, it is telling about the imperishable quality of the self, of the Atma. And then the another thing, the beautiful thing is that it is a concrete example as well that he is mentioning, because when we talk of self, now it is we are very fortunate in this generation that Maharishi has scientifically also shown and gave the experience that what the absolute or the self is. But in that situation, telling something abstract was not that easy to explain, and that is why Bhagavan Krishna gave the example of that at present we are there and we will always be there. Basically, the whole knowledge of Sankhya is just to say that the absolute is always there, and these relative, they come and go, but the absolute always remains the absolute. So that is, it's a very small shloka, basically, and we can also, the scientific research is also correlated with it. It's basically, in this scientific research, it is said that it is the self concept. There are two things, self-actualization and self-concept. So this scientific research shows that the concept, because when we are explaining Sankhya, they should be intellectually also, the concept should be clear. So with the practice of transcendental meditation, not only the individual is actualizing oneself, but is also having the concept very clear. So after 1 month of practice of Maharishi's transcendental meditation program, individuals developed a more strongly defined sense of self-concept in comparison to matched controls. They also respond that their actual self was closer to the ideal self. So, the individual self is there and the universal self is there. So they realize that we are, even though we are individuals, but our all basis is that universal self, the big self. And then it also shows increased field independence, means whatever the situation is, we are not that moved by those situations. By ups and downs in life, we remain as we are. We are established in our own self. And then increased self-efficiency, as the point has already come, that when we are taking deeper rest, then we have, we can say, more dynamic activity as well. So efficiency also, self-sufficiency. Actually, nowadays we are talking of Atmanirbhar also. So actually, the self-sufficiency is real Atmanirbharta is that self-sufficiency that develops with transcendental meditation. And increased self-actualization, which we have already. So increased self-reliance means we are established in our own self, and that is the seat of all the power and all the creativity. So obviously we can say we rely on ourselves, and not only rely on ourselves, we really achieve what we look for. So this is very beautiful discussing this point. I think this is a very short explanation, but I think it will suffice. In case there are any questions, then we can discuss.
Yes, very nice comments, Dr. Sharmaji. Any questions, or anybody wants to add anything else? See, the shloka looks so simple, but look how much deep meaning is there. And this is being brought out, and that's very nice. Okay, now we will do ending mala. Mukesh ji and Manish ji, कृपया 13 और 14 रिसाइट करना भगवद गीता द्वितीय अध्याय का. प्लीज
जी दीदी.
अनम्यूट.
जी दीदी.
13 and 14.
जी दीदी. ओ देहिनोऽस्मिन् तथा
कौमारं यौवनं जरा
तथा देहान्तरप्राप्ते धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति.
मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णसुखदुःखदा आगमापायिनो नित्यास्तां तितिक्षस्व भारत. ॐ
देहिनोऽस्मिन्यथा देहे
बस
कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति.
पंडित जी अब बस है. रोकना. हेलो जय गुरुदेव. दो ही बस है. These are shlokas 13 and 14. As the dweller in this body passes into childhood, youth, and age, so also does he pass into another body. This does not bewilder the wise. Shloka 14 is contacts of the senses with their objects, O son of Kunti, give rise to the experience of cold and heat, pleasure and pain. Transient, they come and go. Bear them patiently, O Bharata. These are the two shlokas that we will begin our Gita Satsang next Friday. So we will stop here and do 10 minutes meditation. Mataji, thank you for your comments and your time. If you have to leave, that is okay. Now we will do meditation and Pandits will recite the Gita second chapter. All right, let's all sit comfortably and begin meditation. Sachin or Madhavi, please put Maharishi picture.
चिकन
अच्छा।
दादा कौन है यार?
कहाँ है वो?
Jai Gurudev. Take a minute or so and slowly open the eyes. Jai Gurudev. Now we will have Bhagavad Gita Parayana of the first half of second chapter. Manishji and Mukeshji, first half of second chapter. पहले गीता ध्यान पहला और लास्ट श्लोक, फिर इसके बाद में 1 to 36, please.
जी जी दीदी। ओम
पार्थाया प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेनाग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवत् गीते भवेद्वेषिणी यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुता स्तुन्वन्ति देव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः देवाय तस्मै नमः। ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः। संजय उवाच तं तथा कृपयाविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणम् विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदना। श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्त्वं कशमनमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमश्वर्ग्यम् अकीरकर्तमर्जुन। क्लैव्यं मास्मि गमः पार्थ नेतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्तोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप। अर्जुन उवाच कथं भीष्ममहं संख्ये द्रोणं च मधुसूदन इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि पूजार्हा वरिसूदन। गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं वैक्षमपीह लोके। हत्वार्थकामास्तु गुरून् हैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान्। न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः। यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषामस्तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्रा। कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः। यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शस्यस्तेऽहं साधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्। नहि प्रपश्यामि ममानुपद्यात् यच्छोक्तमुच्छोषणमिन्द्रियाणाम्। अवाप्य भूमा वसपत्नमृद्धम् राज्यं सुराणाममिचाद्यपत्यम् संजय उवाच एवमुक्त्वा हृषीकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तपा न योत्स्य इति ओविन्दम् भुक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः तमुवाच हृषीकेशः प्रसन्नवदभारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषेदन्तमिदं वचः श्रीभगवान् उवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूश्च नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिताः न त्वेवाहं जातु नाशं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैन भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम् देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यते मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्यास्तास्तितिक्षस्व भारत यं हि न व्यथयन्ते ते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभा समदुःख सुखं धीरं सौम्यतत्त्वाय कल्पते नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्त्यस्त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति अन्तवन्त इमे देहा नित्योक्ताः शरीरिणः अनाशिनो प्रमेयस्य तस्माद्युध्यस्व भारत य एनं वेत्ति हन्तारं य एनं वेत्ति हन्तारं यश्चैनं मन्यते हतम् उभौ तौ नाभिजानीतो नायं हन्तिं न हन्यते न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे वेदाविनाशिनं नित्यं य एनमजमव्ययं कथं स पुरुषा पार्थ तं घातयति हन्तिकम् पाशांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैक्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः अच्छेद्योऽयमदाह्योऽयम् अखिलेद्यो शोष्य एव च नित्यः सर्वगतः स्थाणु रचलोऽयं सनातनः अव्यक्तोऽयमचिन्तोऽयम् अविकार्योऽयमुच्यते तस्माद्देवं विदत्वेनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतम् तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैवं शोचितुमर्हसि जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि अव्यक्तादीनि भूतानि व्यक्तमध्यानि भारत अव्यक्तनिधनान्येव तत्र का परिदेवना आश्चर्यवत् पश्यति कश्चिदेन माश्चर्यवद्वदति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवच्चैन्यमन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वं पेनं वेद न चैव कश्चित् देहे नित्यम् अवध्योऽयं देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि धर्म्याध्येयद्वाश्रेयो यच्चित्र्यस्य न विद्यते यद्रक्षया चोपपन्नं स्वदर्गद्वारमपावृतं सुखिनः क्षत्रियाः पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धमीदृशम् अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमपाक्ष्यसि अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् संभावी तस्य चाकीर्तिर्मरणादिदृच्यते भयाद्रणादु परतं पश्यन्ते त्वां महारथा एषा च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् अवाच वादांश बहून् वदिष्यन्ति सबाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्।
जय गुरुदेव। आखिरी श्लोक पढ़ना 72।
72 जी
स्थिता पार्थ नैनं प्राप्नुयाति
स्थित्वा श्यामन्त्यकालेऽपि ब्रह्मनिर्वाणमृच्छति।
धन्यवाद। Any birthdays? Okay, no birthdays. We will end now with Shanti Path. Go ahead, please.
हरे ओम माधो शांतिरन्तारक्षकं शांतिः पृथ्वी शांतिरापः शांतिरोखादयः शांतिः पारसपातायः शान्तिर्भुवे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगुण शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः क्षमा शान्तिरेधि यतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु सन्नः कुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयं नः पाशवियः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। जय गुरुदेव।
जय गुरुदेव। धन्यवाद. All of you can come on cameras now. I wish all of you a very happy Shivaratri tomorrow. There's going to be, broadcast on Ramraj TV of the Shivaratri celebration. Also on Maharishi channel, whatever is convenient, you can watch. And thank you all for joining. We will meet again next Friday, same time. Jai Gurudev. Thank you, Panditji, Mukesh and Manishji, and Himabindu and Madhavi for your displaying and reading. Okay.
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Pratibhaji. Is that Pratibhaji?
Yes, madam.
Long time. We didn't see you for a while. I'm glad you joined. Did you like the session?
Yes. Thank you, madam. Yes, definitely. Very good. Very good, madam.
Okay. Yeah. Nice seeing you. Okay. Jai Gurudev. Anybody else who wants to make any comment? Otherwise, we will end.
Jai Gurudev, Hemanji. Jai Gurudev. This was so
Dr. Sita.
Yes.
Sita.
Jai
Sorry.
Gurudev.
I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
Oh, Jai Gurudev, this was so beautiful. Thank you so much for all this wisdom. Thank you.
It is all Maharishi's wisdom, and it's a great joy for me to share this with all Maharishi's bhaktas. It's very, blissful. I'm happy that you are able to join, and please let your friends know. Dr. Sita, she's from Suriname, and she has Ayurveda practice, and she also knows Hindi. She learned Vishnu Sahasranama. We are very happy to have you in the group, Sita, and hope to see you in future programs also. And please spread the word that now we have this Gita Satsang on Ramraj TV, and I would like more people to join and get benefited from Maharishi's knowledge.
Yes. Thank you very much. I will tell my friends.
Okay, very good. Baniji unmuted. Do you want to say something, Baniji?
Wanted to say Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. So nice. You're joining again. Baniji joined the first group also, and he's so much in love with Gita. He is coming for this one also, and he had been having very nice experiences, after we started Gita Satsang, and he was a meditator. Now he's a Siddha. You want to tell us about your Siddha experience? How are the experiences going?
Oh, fantastic. Every day, twice. Fantastic.
Very good. Now, Bela is Baniji's sister. She's a meditator. She's meditating more than 3 months now. Bela ji, you should consider doing Siddhis. It will help a lot, with our program. You can tell her.
Okay,
Baniji,
I
you
will.
can encourage her to take it. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Sachin, we can end the meeting now. Jai Gurudev. Thank you all.
Very good.